Trump wants additional federal indemnity protections for all police officers.
We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution, so they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
He says, we're going to indemnify them. In other words, we're going to hold them guiltless even when they commit their crimes, so they don't lose their wife, their family, their pension, and their job. Maybe cops need to lose their wife and their family and their pension and their job. And maybe, just maybe, cops who commit criminal acts against Americans that they're supposed to be protecting and serving, maybe they need some jail time, Trump. So if you're voting for Donald Trump, you're voting for somebody who wants to hold cops guiltless when they commit crimes against the rest of us. Trump is for ERPOs, or extreme risk protection orders, or red flag laws. Red flag laws are anti-Second Amendment laws.
We are outraged and sickened by this monstrous evil,
offering a solution to stopping gun violence.
That is why I have called for red flag laws, also known as extreme risk protection orders.
So when you're supporting Trump or Biden or any presidential candidate, you got to know that those presidential candidates, including Trump, are against the Second Amendment. If they're against the Second Amendment, they're against your right to protect yourself, your fundamental, unalienable right to protect yourself. And let me just remind you, the very first red flag law that went into effect in Maryland resulted in the death of Gary Willis, who wanted to defend his home, and the cops took his life anyway. That's what Trump is for. So if you're for Trump, you're for red flag laws, which means you're against the Second Amendment. Trump banned bump stocks. And a lot of people are like, who cares? That doesn't matter. I don't even know what bump stocks are. I never even heard of them until I found out that Trump banned them. Do you realize banning bump stocks means the criminalization of hundreds of thousands of Americans who own bump stocks? So what Trump did when he banned the bump stocks is he criminalized hundreds of thousands of Americans that he's supposed to be there protecting and serving, which is a violation also of the Second Amendment. If you're voting for Trump, you're voting for, I like take the guns first, due process second.
Or might take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
Take the guns first. Take the guns first is what a tyrant would say. If you're voting for Trump, if you're voting for Biden, you're voting for tyrants. And don't give me this lesser of the two evils nonsense. If you choose the lesser of two evils, you are still making the decision to choose evil. Is there not another choice? Like, how about doing the righteous thing, doing the good thing, doing the noble thing, and not voting for evil at all?
I don't vote. If you vote, you have no right to complain.
Another thing is, with the national debt, Obama increased the national debt $8.6 trillion in 8 years. Trump increased the national debt $8.4 trillion in 4 years. Is this me saying that makes Obama better than Trump? Not at all. If you're increasing the national debt, what you're actually doing is diminishing the value of every American's time and labor. It used to be, before Trump got elected, he was for quantitative tightening. In other words, stop printing money and make sure that the money we have, the M2 money supply, actually retains its value so that every unit that Americans earn is actually worth something. And then when he became president, he moved away from quantitative tightening to calling for massive quantitative easing.
I personally think the Fed should drop rates. I think they really slowed us down. There's no inflation. I would say in terms of quantitative tightening, it should actually now be quantitative easing. Very little, if any, inflation. And I think they should drop rates
and they should get rid of quantitative tightening. You would see a rocket ship.
In other words, print the money, lower the interest rates. Let's get this economy going, which basically is saying, I don't give a damn about your time and labor, Americans. I'm going to diminish it and devalue it. And this 8.4 trillion doesn't even take into account the 6.2 trillion that he signed away from Americans toward the banking cartels, toward the big pharma industrial complex, toward the military industrial complex, and away from Americans. Listen to this. He's going to sign with one signature. He's going to sign away $6.2 trillion while mainstream media says it's just 2.2 trillion. Listen to this.
Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all.
Now we're going to watch them sign this 5,100-page document that nobody read. Watch what he does when he gets rid of the pen. Watch the second person he gives the pen to.
But I wanted that to be a nice signature.
First pen goes to Mitch McConnell. Second pen goes to who? Goldman Sachs bankster, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. It is a big club and you ain't in it. This is the Rothschilds banking cartel taking firm control, even more firm control over America and Americans. So when you're voting for Donald Trump, you're pro-bankster. You're also pro-military industrial complex because Trump gave the Pentagon one of the biggest increases it has seen in decades. Remember, we were warned by Eisenhower of the danger of the military industrial complex.
Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
You remember a day before they found that there's $2.3 trillion that were missing from the Pentagon coffers.
We are, as they say, tangled in our anchor chain. Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
So there's massive waste going on, and Trump gave them even more money so that they could waste even more American taxpayer dollars. Trump also promotes law enforcement legalized armed robbery under civil asset forfeiture. So when you're voting for Trump, you're voting for the practice that seized $87,000 from Stephen Lara and millions of other Americans. Civil asset forfeiture nets federal, state, and local authorities over $3 billion every single year. That doesn't even count traffic tickets. And this is what Donald Trump is for. This is what he supports. Civil asset forfeiture of the American tax cattle. He's basically saying, hey, law enforcement, have at it. Don't worry. We're going to hold you guiltless. We're going to indemnify you. That qualified immunity shield that you got under the Trump administration, it's going to be stronger and more powerful for the police and against the Americans that they abuse.
We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution, so they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
And let me remind you that Operation Warp Speed Donald Trump actually called himself the father of the VAXX.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. You know, to get it done in less than 9 months was a miracle. Fauci said it would take 3 to 5 years.
So he's patting himself on the back for the you-know-what. Is this what you're for? Is this what you support? Now, remember when I asked you, what would you think about Obama and Biden if all you knew about them was that they were bailed out by the Rothschilds banking cartel? Well, guess who actually was bailed out by the Rothschilds banking cartel? And I don't know, maybe Obama and Biden were. It doesn't even matter with them because, they're yahoos anyway. They're clearly bankster puppets anyway, and you can see that by their actions. But Donald Trump was bailed out by this man right here named Wilbur Ross. Wilbur Ross is a former head of the Rothschilds Inc. bankruptcy advising team. And Wilbur Ross, under Rothschilds Inc., bailed out Donald Trump when he got upside down with Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. 25 years later, when Trump becomes president, he makes Wilbur Ross the Commerce Secretary. Yes, indeed, it is a big club, and you and I ain't in it.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Donald Trump is, though. Biden is, though. Hillary is. Oh, and speaking of Hillary, you remember when Donald Trump rightly called her a nasty woman?
But what we want to do is to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund.
Remember when Donald Trump called Hillary crooked?
I believe, actually, they are more crooked than crooked Hillary. I really do. That's a lot.
You remember when he said that if he became president, Hillary Clinton would be in jail?
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
So Hillary Clinton would be in jail? You know that these people are lifelong friends. They hang out in the same clubs together. They do the same things together. They go party together. They go golfing together. They're best buds. And people are like, well, that's before he became president. Everything changed after he became president. Really? On the very day he was inaugurated, listen to the glowing words that he has for Slick Willie and Hillary.
I'll tell you, there is something that I wanted to say, because I was very honored, very, very honored, when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today. And I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand up.
Doesn't this kind of make you sick? I mean, doesn't this turn your stomach? He's leading a room full. President Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, just got inaugurated. And after saying that Hillary's a nasty woman, she's crooked, rightly saying, man, if I was president, you'd be jailed. Right after the inauguration, he leads a room full of dignitaries to a standing ovation for Bill and Hillary Clinton. And then listen to what he says after he leads them in a standing ovation. Look at her smiling. Look at Nazi Pelosi back there. Listen to this.
And honestly,
Now, let me ask you, Paisley, would you unsubscribe to me if I was leading a room full of dignitaries and do a standing ovation for the Clintons? Would you unsubscribe to me if you heard me say this about the Clintons?
And honestly, there's nothing more I can say, because I have a lot of respect for those two people. So thank you all for being here.
I got a lot of respect for those two people right there. Bill and Hillary, got a lot of respect for them. You know, those people that I hang out with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey, you know who? Yep, it is a big club, and you ain't in it.
You and I are not in the big club.
Speaking of the big club, you know who else is in Trump's big club? Henry Kissinger, longtime respected friend of President Donald Trump.
Henry Kissinger has been a friend of mine. I've liked him, I've respected him, but we've been friends for a long time, long before my emergence in the world of politics, which has not been too long. But we have been really in the, I guess you'd say, the New York seat a little bit, but we got to know each other very well. He's a man I have great, great respect for. He's also somebody, usually I say, have you ever been in the Oval Office?
And with Henry Kissinger, I didn't bother asking that question because he has been in this office many, many times. But it's an honor to have Dr. Kissinger with us, a man of immense talent and experience and knowledge. And I'm going to talk to him for a while, and we're going to learn a lot.
Yep, we're going to learn a lot. So talk to me about reduced credibility. Talk to me about my Trump derangement syndrome. Talk to me about how you're going to unsubscribe to me because I dared to. Talk to me about how I'm going to be the one to vote for Biden when they're like two peas in a pod. Biden is creating the same policies that Donald Trump does. Pro-IRS policies, pro-FBI policies, pro-CIA policies, pro-military industrial complex policies, pro-Federal Reserve policies. Ain't nothing going to change if we keep doing the same things that we've been doing. And not to mention, Trump is the one who actually instituted a national shutdown, and he extended it based on Anthony Fauci's recommendation. So tell me about reduced credibility. That's who Donald Trump is. That's why I take the position that I do against him. And that's why I bring the receipts, because, hopefully you won't unsubscribe from me. But if you do, make sure it's because I run contrary to the principles of individual liberty, the principles of freedom, the principles of America. If I come against America, if I come against freedom, by all means, unsubscribe. But if I call out tyrants who come against freedom and I bring the receipts, why the heck are you leaving? I mean, you're free to do whatever you want to do, but make sure it's based on a sound, rational, logical judgment based on the facts. Stop making accusations that people are embroiled in Trump derangement syndrome because they dare to criticize your overlord and savior. And this doesn't just go for people who follow Trump. This goes for people who are dyed-in-the-wool Biden supporters. Go figure that there would be anything like that. Or that continue to support Obama or RFK or any one of these political parasitic misfits who want the ring of power so that they can do the bidding of the people who are really in control of this country, the Federal Reserve. So if you're still sticking with me and you haven't unsubscribed, and if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. That's highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab one of these hard-hitting conversation starting designs you can put on a shirt, hoodie, mug, cell phone case, hat, whatever you want to. Become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are. Know what the facts are. Know what's going on in this world. Make sure when you make a statement that you can bring the receipts. Make sure that you earn the credibility that you get. Make sure you don't lie and engage in deception. Make sure you know what your rights are and flex your rights. If you don't flex your rights, you will lose your rights. I will see you in the next video.